I call this meeting to order at 6:45. We will begin this meeting with a roll call. Are you able to do it, Casey, or would you like me to do it?
Yeah, I can take it.
Okay, so when your name is called, please say present. Board Keener Park, may you please take roll call.
President Jeremiah Finley.
Present.
Administrative Vice President David Lopez.
Present.
Legislative Vice President Mayuli Cuellar.
Present.
Student Affairs Vice President Jordan Lamar.
Present.
Social Justice and Equity Officer Roman Sotomayor.
Present.
College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences Rep Angelica Alvarez.
Hey everyone, sorry I just came in.
Welcome. At-large Representative Montel Floyd.
Present.
External Affairs Representative Paula Valdominos. Executive Director Janessa Lund.
Present.
Dean Turnbow.
Present.
You have quorum.
Thank you, Board Keener Park. I encourage that both our board members and audience members take a moment to write their personal pronouns next to their name here on Zoom. You can do this by clicking the three dots that appear when you hover over your image. You should see a rename option. Thank you. I would like to take a moment to welcome everyone into this virtual space. And this item is under the chair's report, but to ensure that every board member is more comfortable, I will be sharing the Zoom features now. Please remember to mute yourself when you are not speaking. If you wish to make a motion, second a motion, or talk during debate, please use the hand raise feature of Zoom, which can be found in the participants list. This will notify me that you wish to speak, and I will be able to call upon you. When we are not taking a roll call vote, please utilize the buttons found in the participants list. A green yes will translate to an aye, a red no will translate to a nay, and raising your hand during a vote will translate to an abstention. Thank you. We will now be moving on to the approval of the first agenda. This is an action item, and so a vote will be taking place. I would now like to ask if there is a motion on the floor. You can raise your hand to notify me. The chair recognizes President Finley.
Madam Chair, I would like to approve the agenda dated 5/8/2020.
Is there a second on the floor? The chair recognizes Vice President Lamar.
I second the motion.
President Finley has made a motion to approve the agenda as is, and Vice President Lamar has seconded the motion. We will now move on to a vote. Does anyone object or abstain? Please use the buttons found in the participants list. A red no would be a nay, in other words, an objection, and raising your hand would be an abstention. Seeing none, the ayes have it, the agenda is approved. We will now move on to the chair's report. First, I'd like to say hello to everyone. My name is Mayuli Cuellar, and I will proudly be serving as the Legislative Vice President for this year. I welcome you all into this space, and I thank you all for joining us as we commemorate the first Board of Directors meeting for the 2020-2021 year. I congratulate every candidate that was elected and now serves the Student Union. As stated in our Constitution, I hope you will all embrace a student-centered decision-making process, be vocal on issues pertaining to our campus and the CSE system at large, actively seek institutional changes that serve to enhance the student environment, and I encourage you all to embrace your role as fiscal officers. Here at Associated Students, we like to say, advocate, allocate, and educate, and I hope you will all embrace the saying as others have done before you. Associated Students is a recognized nonprofit corporation and an auxiliary of Humboldt State University. Please note, though, that we serve as a student government on this campus, and proudly so. Our purpose is to provide a means for effective leadership, student advocacy, and to empower the voices of our students. We envision a campus and association that seeks equity, empowerment, and well-being. As an AS board member, we must be committed to striving for honesty within our actions, welcome the responsibility to transform systems so that they are inclusive and equitable to all, critically think about the impact of our actions or lack thereof, and commit ourselves to be the change that we want to see in the world. On this note, I hope we will all embrace accountability, and I will now take a moment to go over the point and tally system. The Board of Directors participates in an orientation/retreat each semester, regularly attends Board of Directors meetings and committee meetings, Each board member regularly holds office hours and regularly files board reports. And if a board member fails to be present, a point violation will be assigned unless excused by the legislative vice president for circumstances out of the board member's control or for extenuating circumstances, for example, being unable to hold office hours and notify the legislative vice president in a timely manner because your vehicle is having mechanical issues. If a board member fails to attend a retreat or orientation, a 1-point violation against the board member will be assigned for each day absent. Failure to hold office hours will result in a 0.5-point violation for every 1 hour that is missed. Failure to attend a board of directors meeting or committee meeting without notifying the chair will result in a 1-point violation. Failure to file a written report prior to the board of directors meeting will result in a 0.5-point violation for board members and a 1-point violation for executive members. Arriving late or leaving early from a meeting with no prior notice being given, once again, except in cases of emergencies, a member being 15 minutes late or leaving 30 minutes before the meeting is adjourned will result in a 0.5-point violation. At the moment, a board member has accumulated 3 absences, or in other words, 3 points, a violation, in 1 semester. The terms of impeachment may be prepared and referred to the board of directors. I hope you will all take away the importance of notifying the legislative vice president if you anticipate having to miss, be late, or leave early from something, because you can be excused. To notify me, please send me an email and CC Board Coordinator Park asking for an excused absence. I wanted to take a moment to highlight that what was once known as informal discussion will now be referred to as discussion, and what was once known as formal discussion will now be called debate. I ask that you make motions using those terms if you wish to enter discussion after a presentation on an action item has been given, or move into debate once a motion is on the floor. Thank you, and I ask that board members please be on the lookout for an email from me to collaboratively discuss how the board will be communicating throughout the year and deciding upon a platform such as GroupMe or text. As my last note, I am really looking forward to working with each and every one of you, and I cannot express my excitement about the year to come. Thank you. We will now be moving on to public comment. As per the Gloria Romero Open Meeting Act of 2000, authorized by Section 89-306, every AS Board of Directors agenda for regular meetings shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the AS Board of Directors on any item affecting higher education at the campus or statewide level, provided that no action shall be taken on any item not appearing on the agenda. However, the Board of Directors may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by a person exercising their public testimony rights, may ask a question for clarification, make a brief announcement, or make a brief report on their own activities. The AS Board of Directors may also provide a reference to resources for factual information, request staff to report back to the body at a subsequent meeting concerning any matter, or request that a matter of business be placed on a future agenda. Persons recognized by the chair should first identify themselves by name. Time limits will be established by the chair depending on the number of people wishing to speak and the length of the agenda. The maximum amount of time per speaker shall not exceed 10 minutes. Is there any public comment at this moment? The chair recognizes Amala Mora.
Hi everyone, it's Amala Mora. And I just wanted to emphasize that it's important for people on the board of directors to not be pitted against one another in regards to any public comments or external or internal activities. For the purpose of integrity, I believe that the board of directors should be able to communicate with one another. If there's no impeachment process that is clearly a violation, board of directors should not be pressuring each other to resign. I just want to make sure that in order for everyone to feel safe on Associated Student Body, we're not pressuring each other, putting each other down in board of directors, and not letting people pit us against one another, and just making sure that we're putting our emotions to the side and making logical decisions that aren't hurtful to people, but making sure that if something's going to be offensive, don't say it. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Amal. The chair recognizes CCAT.
Hello, my name is Michael Perez. I'm the External Co-Director for the Campus Center for Appropriate Technology. I'd like to request that an item be put on a future agenda. There has been some confusion and lack of transparency on how AS programs that were formerly known as G2 programs and other programs can get their unspent funds be reallocated to them. For example, this year CCAT had a certain amount of money unspent due to COVID and other situations, and we are going through difficulty on how to have that leftover money be reallocated to CCAT rather than going back to AS. So I would like transparency on how that can happen. The steps, the process be laid out, because currently there is no process being laid out. And so that is currently a barrier. And so again, to restate my request, I would like the item of how programs can get unspent money reallocated to them be put on a future agenda. Thank you.
Thank you for your public comment, Michael. So the item I believe it could be added as a discussion item for the unspent funds being reallocated at a future meeting, or at least our next one. Board Commissioner Park, is there anything you would like to add to that?
Nope, Michael's request was clear, and as chair, you've heard it and acknowledged that it can be put onto a future agenda, and depending on what schedule is approved tonight, that will help inform what agenda and timeline.
Beautiful, thank you. Is there another public comment? The chair recognizes Lex.
Unmute. Hello. I'm gonna do the letter again. Sorry, not sorry for those folks that have already heard it. My name is Lex Sieber, and I'm representing various faculty and students and staff that have had their budget drastically cut, the majority being queer and cultural centers. I am coming here as the Queer Community Building Coordinator through the MCC, and we have written a letter that will be sent out later on. It's still being revised, but yeah, I just wanted to share it this evening. HSU Associated Student Board of Directors, we as the Queer Community Building coordinators and representatives of the student body are writing this letter with deep concerns on the approved Associated Students 2021 budget. The budget has cut the majority of cultural and queer centers to $0. There have been various attempts to appeal the budget from students prior to today, yet even with their protests, the blatant fiscal and resource discrimination of this year's budget has unfortunately been approved. Various faculty members have been critically engaged with understanding how these decisions have been made. The decisions associated students are making will create a crisis for many students, as the process of many decision-making has been indefensible, not including leadership of such programs in decision-making. We argue that cutting the majority of queer and cultural programs that provide in-house and outsourced support for student survivors of the most vulnerable populations to $0 is a violation of the Department of Education Policies Title IX, the Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA, and the Clery Act. By cutting programs such as the Women's Resource Center, the Eric Rofus Center, Multicultural Queer Resource Center, Queer Community Building Coordinators, and the various other groups that are being severely affected by Associated Students 2021 budget, denies access to services that support the most marginalized students. The services and support that our program and organizations provide are that which uplifts and shapes policies for survivors-centered resolutions that encompass all identities. On Humboldt State University's website, it states the following: Title IX, quote, "No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjugated to discrimination under any educational programs or activities receiving federal financial assistance," end quote. Further, the Associated Students 2021 decisions to cut budgets so drastically and disproportionately from programs and student organizations that center student support and provide resources to students of all identities and experiences that have systemically been marginalized. VAWA is a federal policy that not only protects the rights of survivors in sexualized violence of all identities, but also includes the protection of sustaining support and prevention resources, to which many of the queer and cultural centers disproportionately cut from AS budget falls within. Part 668.46J of the Clery Act requires that universities and colleges uplift and support programs to prevent dating violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. Attached below is the lengthy section of the policy that states requirement specifics to which universities are expected to maintain. We stress again how imperative it is to support queer and cultural centers on campus, not just to exist, but to thrive. The growth and support we receive is reflected in the ways that survivors of all identities are treated on HSU campus. We provide expansions of language and experiences while giving students spaces to feel safer and uplifted. To echo these federal policies in Associated Students Governing Codes and Policies, Section 100, Document 104, in the non-discrimination policy, it states that, quote, every member of Associated Students has a responsibility to ensure that the policy of equal opportunity is provided in the Associated Students programs and activities, end quote. The AS budget is currently in violation of these policies, whereas the majority of programs and activities AS has cut to zero are those run by and for queer and students of color who have been cultivating safer spaces for folks experiencing harm. Many of these organizations also centralize workshops, educational events, and resources that utilize trauma-informed approaches that work towards prevention of harm and expand building anti-discriminatory practices at Humboldt State University. In a seeming attempt to uplift the notion of supporting these students' need, resolution number 2017-18-1, approved September 9th, 2017, establishing committee member for the position of Social Justice and Equity Officer, states, quote, whereas the mission of the Associated Students of Humboldt State University serves to, quote, assist the protection of and rights and interests of the individual student and the student body, and to which stimulate the educational, social, physical, and cultural well-being of the university community, end quote. We ask this, how is cutting all of the queer cultural budgets to $0 supposed to, quote, stimulate the educational, social, physical, and cultural well-being of the university community? In 2016, students and representatives from Humboldt State University, many of which have been a part of the organization's Associated Students 2021 budget, are now attempting to cut, presented to 23 Title IX coordinators at the CSU Chancellor's Office. Part of their presentation stressed the necessity of student-led spaces where folks of marginalized identities would be able to access support from their peers and comrades. Now we are here today to advocate once again for the importance of these programs. We demand a reconciliation of the 2021 budget that takes into account the necessity of queer and cultural centers and the re-centralization of students whose needs expressed by the university's most marginalized representations. And that was the letter again, and I'll send it out again. I mentioned last time, but yeah, that's it.
You are muted, Mayuli, if you're attempting to speak.
Thank you, Roman. Sorry, I said thank you to Lex, especially, and I commend her especially because I heard her at the other board meeting, and the chair recognizes President Finley.
You're on mute.
Madam Chair, I'm wondering if it's okay to let the Social Justice and Equity Officer, Sotomayor, go before my comment so I can get some more clarification before I respond.
Yes, that is definitely okay. Can I clarify that everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, for sure. The chair recognizes Social Justice and Equity Officer Sotomayor. Unless the public comment has been rescinded.
No, I put it down because I was going next.
For sure, you have the floor.
So I have two questions. My first question, and these questions are for Lex. And my first question is, were you made aware of the appeals process for these budgets, and were you or someone else present during them for the ERC, MCC, and so on? That's my first question.
Yes, I was not able to attend, but I found out about it, I think, the day of. But I know that the Women's Resource Center went to those meetings and was and have been actively pushing back and against those that budget. And it's interesting. I noted last meeting that I believe it was April 10th, there was money allotted to these groups. And by April 17th, when it was published, the majority of cultural queer centers had $0. So whatever happened within that segment, again, I had a meeting before all of these meetings with Kim Berry, the chair of the Sexual Assault Prevention Committee, and they had been talking about AS's interpretation of certain policies, one of which would be the Executive Order of 1068, which seems to be drastically misrepresented as associated students being a student organization versus AS being a part of student body organization. And apparently the budget going from that misrepresentation of Executive 1068. So I think that was like one of the parts that we were talking about before this meeting.
Okay, and my second question was, so in terms of budgeting, were this to be looked at again, assuming we're able to, I am not sure, I'm so new to this right now. Assuming we're able to look at this again, what kind of solution then would you be searching for in terms of the budget is going to be very limited because of the coronavirus situation? Many groups are seeing that they can only pay one student leader at their place. So what kind of solution would you be looking for? I believe at one of the other meetings I had mentioned potentially, what if the event funding went into paying students and then events were fundraised or scholarships or grants instead? So that's one thought, but I would like to hear yours as well.
Yeah, I think definitely a redistribution of where that money is going. I think I noticed that obviously we're going to take budget, like budget cuts. I think everyone is facing that right now, but that the reality of who is essentially disposable is coming into light right now, not more than ever, because it's constantly coming to light. This institution is like systemically like homophobic and racist, but as far as addressing how we can redistribute funding in a way that is not in contrast to those various federal policies that can and would have substantial effects as far as lawsuits go. It would be the only thing that the Associated Students budget of 2021 actually increased would be the the AS general operations went up, and I'm not entirely sure what, like, is that people's stipends or what that money goes towards, and then also Associated Students grants. And so I understand that, like, okay, like, let's put more money into this like grant system, where all of these programs have an equal opportunity to write in and receive funding from associated students. The thing is, I don't think that all of the clubs should have an equal opportunity for that funding. I'm just thinking about like the Turning Point Club on campus, who's a white supremacist, really extremely like transphobic, homophobic, Nazi club on campus. And they have the equal opportunity to apply for those grants. So that just rubs me a little bit the wrong way, and I don't think it's probably the best way or route to go. I think that there's a lot of power in associated students not putting themselves in a position of hierarchical and hegemonic power over the students. Like, if y'all are going to be representing the students, represent the students. Don't, this isn't, I don't know. Y'all can make yourselves into a corporate hegemony real fast, and it's happening, and it seems to have happened. But I think that by distributing that grant money to the students, the cultural and queer resource centers, I think that would be a necessary part in ensuring that we have programs and students have the power within themselves and don't have to look towards leaders. We need to be working towards more collective organizing right now, especially when we're facing the things that we're facing.
Thank you, Lex. Roman, do you have another question or? Seeing none, the chair recognizes President Finley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to take the time to commend each and every single student leader within this room and taking the time out of your day to come to this meeting, because these are extensive and long meetings. First off, I want to address the point about AO 1068. Executive Order 1068 is an order that does force AS to relook at how we function and how we fund our programs in areas. What this executive order does is saying that associated student, and with the clarification I really want to provide is right now is associated students is not a recognized student organization. It is the student body organization, since it is a student body organization, it falls under different rules and regulations than these recognized student organizations, such as clubs, organizations, and things like that. AS has the opportunity to fund those programs, but cannot oversee them directly simply because of this executive order right here. And this executive order comes straight from the Chancellor's office itself. So what this means is we don't have the infrastructure within ourselves to be able to support the type of support that you and many programs were suggesting for us to support, because if that support would have really to come through, it would have looked a little different and maybe a little bit more jarring to folks. And so what this past board did, and I will recommend, I will commend the work that the past board did put in, because it was extensive work. The past board basically said we need to look forward and hinting more towards your point about working towards a collaborative relationship and a collaborative model about how we view our resources. That is ultimately what this budget is about. To hit the point about the prioritization of funds, that point is already addressed. We're already saying that we're going to prioritize certain funds that are already earmarked within this grant process to be allocated out to these next board members for next time. We've already talked about that. This Board of Finance, past Board of Finance, and that's what I'll be strongly recommending to be taking place in the next Board of Finance, because we recognize the need for us to throw these events. We have different events and different pockets of excellence around campus that need to be addressed. And so what we're saying is, yes, we're going to recognize the events that they do, unless the student body is saying to us that we would rather be paid than to throw these different events. And that's a different conversation that we need to have, if that's the conversation. But ultimately, what the board of directors, the student leaders that y'all all elected are saying, we're going to support y'all in the events that we do. So that's what this budget represents. That is what that grant process is about. Over the summer months, I'll be working with the administrative vice president and the board of finance to really delve deep into these problems and into these issues, because I recognize the lack of need for an equitable allocation process. Give us a chance to disappoint you. I think this has, and not saying that we will, and I hope that we don't, but give us this chance. This is a new board. This is a new era, a new time for true change to occur. I possess a lot of institutional knowledge, and so do the rest of my board members. We are, and I would like to say, we are a true student-centered body and student-focused group. With that being said, moving forward, every action that we will be taking is around that student-centered lens. And so I really do appreciate this comment, because it gives us a chance to kind of lay the groundwork of this is new. We are providing something different for those to come after us. And I really do appreciate your comment. For the comment about Turning Point, every student, every fee-paying student has to be able to have access to these funds. If we do not allow them to have access to these funds, then we are doing a disservice to our students, because that is not where we're here. We're not here to pick and choose, to favor and to pick favorites in this corporate greed model. That is what a greed model looks like, picking and choosing the winners and losers. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to say, okay, if you pay fees, you have an access to funds. Not saying we can't earmark certain funds based upon what we want to do, which we've already done with this allocation process and with this recommended budget that's coming. And I can also provide you some more reference materials to really delve deep into those. And I'll be working with every student leader on campus, because over these summer months, I'll be working with them all to be able to really show us that we're trying to be different moving forward. And this is going to take a collaborative approach, just like you said. I want to recognize every point that you made in your comment is valid. This is really going to take a collaborative campus unity model to bring forth this type of change that we're all proposing to have happen. And I really do appreciate your comment. I don't think I can stress this enough, because it needs to be said, and I'm glad I had the chance to flesh it out. Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, President Finley. Is there another public comment? Seeing none, we will move on with the agenda. We will now move on to reports. The chair recognizes President Finley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may address the board of directors and the associated students, and the students of the association.
You may.
Thank you. I think now more than ever is going to take a different type of approach to create what we want to create moving forward. I am the first of many. I think forward-looking and student-centered presidents to be a part of this new model that we have. And so I do want to start off by saying, our student union is poised to deliver change to Humboldt State University and to uplift the communities in our constituency. I think we are poised to really uplift and uproot all of these injustices that we have that are unfair to our constituency and to every individual in this community. Unfair to the students who are facing food insecurities, students who are homeless, students whose families lie within the walls of this university. I think sometimes folks don't like to talk about that point, but we literally have families living in housing. Students that are parents. We have students that are racially and prejudicially discriminated against. Students that struggle to get to class on time due to an underinvested and overworked resource center. Students that feel downright unsafe while trying to achieve their HSU education. And left and right, I look, and instead of focusing on the humanistic side of this, oftentimes I see folks look at this as and analyze this as data, as an expected and projected thing. While paying attention to the numbers is important and essential to the process, ultimately we must let genuine campus experiences and issues move us to ask important questions in meaningful ways. And so I say, let us face these harsh realities head on and not be halted by the campus politics. Let us unite and begin changing this narrative, because we have a mandate. and I'm talking specifically to the board of directors, we have a mandate from the students to enter this change, to advocate, and to fight fiercely for their rights. Because this starts now as we are seated as the elected officials of the student body. While we each have diverse perspectives on how to best serve students, in reality, the students did not only elect a presidential agenda, but they selected a board of directors they knew could work together to form and accomplish an intentional and impactful plan. We are each empowered to carry out change, and I believe that it is now time for that reconciliation so that we can unite our voices as the official student voice. Because it is now time to empower those that have no power, time to break down barriers, time to heal our collegiate divides, because it is time to provide for those that cannot provide for themselves, and time to create a culture of unity. This is why we have these seats. So I then ask for you all to turn the mirror inside and look deep over these next few weeks and identify your passion and purpose. And for those of you who already have it, hold on to it and keep it in mind as you advocate at the campus and state levels. You know, in these times of uncertainty, often it is easy to get wrapped up into our own personal struggles. However, as student leaders, we have the responsibility to help our community obtain the resources they need. In times of adversity and uncertainty is when student leaders need to step up. So let's step up. I know the venue on how we advocate and build community has changed and may not look the same moving forward, but our ability to build community like no other body has not. I look at this upcoming year as an opportunity of endless possibilities as we reevaluate what the student experience at HSU looks like. This may happen through coalition emailing or holding more leadership discussions to hear from more public comment to help us inform and create a plan of action based upon our everyday struggles. And it is going to take campus unity to move forward and triumph, which requires a change in how we look at ourselves and shifting away from this silo mentality that so many of us have on this campus. You know, I believe that as students, we should begin to model the type of leadership that we expect from our administration. By using our collective voice to reach out to different clubs, organizations, and departments, we can tap into our shared resources. You know, over these summer months, I will be working with the AS Vice Presidents and the Board of Directors to begin incorporating the plans and actions laid out in the 4-point approach from my campaign and the points from each of their former platforms. In that vein, I will be hoping that the Board of Finance takes steps similarly to meet this summer, and hope that members of this board and students out there in public comment and the students of the association join our finance committee so we can begin taking action. By that same token, I will expect that the bylaws committee take up the guiding documents task force report so we can begin to pass those recommendations and they can begin to be actualized. You know, I also recognize the need and call from students for increased transparency. And I will be working alongside our staff members to provide the student body with monthly reports on the status of associated students projects to be broadly communicated to the student body. This is why I'm in search of a public relations officer to help me and advise me and assist me in developing a more transparent communication model. Moreover, I will be contacting the Greek chapter presidents, the club presidents, team captains, and student leads of cultural and academic centers of the 2020 to reintroduce what it means to be an AS leader here on campus and establish a student leader registry for us all to be able to be tapped into. And finally, I'll be looking at the AS strategic plan laid out by former President Cano Sanchez and the 2019-2020 Board of Directors to assess our current status as we move into this season of change. You know, I believe that AS has the power to shape history here at HSU. And I would now choose that those members that sit before my eyes at the helm of this ship of change are those that fully understand the importance of the mandate we were given by the students to carry out everything we stated during our election season. I'm optimistic about all the exceptional advocacy that we will carry out. I look forward to working collaboratively with all members of this board and students of the association. I'm eager to get to work over these next few months because the morning of conscious leadership is here. And it is now time to wipe the crust from our eyes and set the table for those to come after us. And I have high confidence that when the board initiative proposal is brought to the board of directors at the end of this summer, we will genuinely consider both the intent and impacts of the content and work to reach a student-centered and student-focused vote. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to address the board of directors and the students of the association. I yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, President Finley. Before we continue with board reports, board members may talk about their goals for their year, what they're looking forward to, things that they're excited for in their board report. The chair recognizes Administrative Vice President Lopez.
Hello. As you heard, I am David Lopez. And so I just wanted to start off by frankly saying that, well said, Mr. President. I really appreciate your comment. And your speech, you took the words right out of my mouth. And, but I would like to follow up with that by saying my greatest goal is to, as I campaign for, is to get the voices of our constituents heard, to be empowered by them, because that's who we are as elected officials. We are supposed to stand for the people we represent. And I just would like to change that, starting off with this original public comment that started off our meeting. And I take that to heart. I take all these mentions and issues to heart, because it truly is a crime to not feel represented by the people that you have elected. And as your student leaders, I frankly just want to portray that transparency across all, and so that everyone can understand that they can come to their board with any issue that they feel is pressing, and that it will be addressed and taken to the highest priority and executed properly and efficiently to be beneficial for all and gather that equality. So with that being said, I briefly just want to lay out my biggest goal is to make sure everybody is able to feel welcome and understood and feel as if they can come and bring any grievance that they believe that they have, and that those grievances are answered efficiently, effectively, and fairly. I know it's short, but that's all that else that needs to be said, in my opinion. Thank you so much. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Lopez. I have nothing to report on, as my chair's report covered everything that I desired to say. The chair recognizes Student Affairs Vice President Lamar.
Hi, everyone. I hope everyone's having a lovely day. A few things kind of going into my position. I want to focus on enhancing and further developing programs and resources that we have here on campus, to, again, reach out to those resources and those programs that are kind of on our forefront. I definitely feel, and I definitely want to reach out to Lex, just because I think we all have a valuable opportunity going into this next school year to work closely and come together as a student organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Lamar. The chair recognizes the Social Justice and Equity Officer, Sotomayor.
Hello, I'm Roman Sotomayor, your Social Justice and Equity Officer. Feels really cool to say that. Hopefully I will live up to the title. I really appreciate people coming to give public comment to make sure that we do live up to those titles. And like our vice presidents and President Finley have said, I just really care about the students and seeing that everyone's needs are met. My goals that I hope to work towards are making, I want to say reconciling Title IX with the student body. We have had a lot of issues with past Title IX administration, and I think our best way forward is to reconcile with the students for those failures and you know, make it so that they feel that they can communicate, much like making them feel like they can communicate with us with the Title IX department. I'm so grateful to have met with members of our administration who also appear to care deeply about those issues. So as we are in our own transition period as new members of the board, some of us returning members, our admin is also in the same transitionary period with new employees, new administrators who are coming here and seeing what we're seeing and wanting to work with us. And so I hope that together we can really meet these goals and see them kind of as kind of our main focus during this session. And so another one of those of mine is just to make sure HSU better reflects the fact that it is an HSI. And I would, as someone who is mixed race and Mexican, I would really appreciate that in the first place, for personal reasons, obviously, but also because I know a majority of our students need this and their families need this. And so I hope we can be receptive to this. And I believe that in searching for ways to do this, to resolve Title IX, will also intersect with making sure all students of color feel welcome on campus, making sure all of our LGBTQ plus students feel welcome on campus. I really think that if we keep this in mind, that these identities do intersect, and instead of dividing each other out based on them, coming together based on them, we can really get a lot done. And so I really hope that we'll push for that during this session. I will personally be pushing for it. I already have ideas about how perhaps all of our groups can come together as a council or some kind of mode to keep each other updated, to keep each other accountable for things, and to just sort of have this communication that there seems to not be presently, or at least improve it. And so those are my goals and what I hope to bring to associated students. And so I encourage everyone to contact me if you have any ideas or anything on your mind. Please do contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Officer Sotomayor. The chair recognizes the representative for the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, Alvarez. Representative Alvarez, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I feel honored to be part of Associated Students and really look forward to doing everything and anything in my power to better support and be there for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Alvarez. The chair recognizes the at-large Representative Floyd.
Hello, everyone, and congratulations to the new AS Board of Directors. Some things I will want to work on this coming up year will be issues with our health center and our health fees, and communication between students and administration, diving into the emails that we receive about some incidents surrounding campus and surrounding our nearby areas, our community. Also, I will want to work on making sure our school is safe on campus and off campus. And I'm just greatly happy to be on the AS Board of Directors for another term and willing to work with everyone.
Thank you, Representative Floyd. The chair recognizes Executive Director Lund.
Thank you, Mayuli. And welcome aboard to the 2020-2021 AS Board of Directors. I'm looking forward to working with all of you and helping support some of the previous boards' work so that there's some continuous activity happening so that it can happen smoothly. One of those goals would be around the continued work of reimagining a robust student union so that students have a shared collective space to meet and do work together. How that looks will include a lot of stakeholders. And so I really appreciate the voices that have come tonight, because that's helping identify to me people who to make sure that are included at the table when the student union I'm 95% sure it's going to happen, but when that space gets officially allocated, I'm excited for that process because it's really going to give all student leaders a chance to really dream about how HSU could better support the things that we're hearing tonight. Another goal for this next year is to use this pause year to reestablish or re-examine how AS can get back to having employees like we did pre-2017. I can tell that some people aren't aware of the recent history, and so I look forward to being able to share that down the road. While acknowledging the difference of impact versus intent, I just want to encourage everyone to assume good intent peer-to-peer. This COVID situation has taken a toll on people very differently, and the capacity that student leaders have had have ranged from going completely offline to the extreme of still going 120%. So, and everybody in between. So I really encourage you all to have grace with each other and understand that we're all human, and we're doing the best we can do at this time. The importance of coming together and being kind to each other is of utmost necessity at this point. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody can be part of solutions as we go forward. And thank you. Looking forward to a productive year.
Thank you, Executive Director Lund. The chair recognizes Interim Dean of Students, Dr. Turnbow.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to all of you for getting here and for agreeing to serve. You know, it's one thing to, accept the call when you are tasked to run, and then you get elected, and then we get here, and now it's time to put in the work, right? And so I am super excited to, see where this goes. The great thing about new boards is that it's an opportunity for some refreshed ideas, some refreshed opportunities. And so nothing at all against any previous board. When I was a student leader, I was involved with numerous organizations and held leadership positions, and was always a time to move things forward. So I know like half of you who are on, which is exciting for me as I started last fall here at HSU. And so getting to know so many students has been a joy. And I'm personally excited because this semester that is ending, I've spent really listening to you all, so many one-on-ones with many of you, so many different perspectives. And my personal goal is to finally bring so many of the student affairs, HSU admin pieces, and associated students, things like this, right? And you at the center, you are the voice, and this is you leading, and this is us supporting. And so things have been better in partnerships. We're already looking at a development conference that AS is funded to bring students opportunity to get some professional training, right? And so idea as simple as that is started by AS. And so that's where we come into play. And so last academic year, I met with the student affairs VP often. I met with the president often. I attended several of your meetings. I met with Janessa. And so it truly finally began to merge as how can we move things forward? When AS decided to vote that, oh my goodness, we are out of compliance with Executive Order 1068, then we said, okay, well, how can we get you one in compliance, because that's important. But then two, we're all going through a budget crisis. And so we put all of our funds together, we can work better together than separately. And so looking at how can our offices support those AS programs where AS can no longer do that. And so the aspects like CCAP that is transitioning and supporting them and so forth. So anywho, I really enjoy when students come to me and say, hey, we want to do this, and which you all have already done, And I'm like, bet, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And that's what we've been doing. So you all are powerful, powerful humans. You're doing some amazing things. And, you know, I look forward to what you continue to do, what we continue to bring. And I can't wait to be a part of it. So thanks. And let's not have meetings on Fridays from 5 to 8 next year. Great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Turnbow. And that concludes our reports. We will now move on to general discussion. Anyone may follow up with questions regarding any of the reports. If you wish to talk during general discussion, please raise your hand and I can be notified that you wish to speak. And if you're calling into our meeting, you can also verbally say that if you don't have the option to raise your hand. The chair recognizes Roman.
Thank you. I did want to speak about, I mentioned in the previous meeting that I would appreciate if there was some type of way that my stipend for this position could fully go to a program like the MCC, as for them to decide to do with what they need it for. And so I suppose I have no idea really where to start with something like that. How would I make that happen? Also, I would like the other stipend that I would also be getting for the Student Legal Lounge to similarly go to those programs. So more of a question, I think, than.
Thank you, Officer Sotomayor. Board Coordinator Park, could you give some information regarding that?
Hello. Thank you, I guess, for calling upon me. I shouldn't have said thank you for that. So to address Roman's question, it doesn't have precedence at this point, and so I can't speak to a certain process. I think a couple ways that could happen, and we definitely need to consult more about it from the financial perspective, and that's maybe where I can call upon Janessa, who also might not have been, we might not have an answer at this point, but can report back at the next meeting regarding the diversion of stipends, or if it's more of a situation of an individual receiving their stipend and deciding to donate it to the university. We will work out what those separate options are, I think.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? The chair recognizes President Finley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the point of Executive Director Alon's goal about possibly, again, having AS employees, I think that's a common goal that we both share. And I'll be looking forward to really working on that next year with them to be able to create or to see what that possibility might look like for next semester, or not for next semester, but for the following year.
Thank you, President Finley. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Seeing no speakers, we will move on with our agenda. We will now move on to new business, and the board will review the proposed 2020-2021 standing rules and meeting schedule. To consider adopting the rules and schedule, the meeting schedule should be given special attention as it does propose 4 summer meetings to be prioritized for appointments, discussions, and planning. Myself, President Finley, and Vice President Lamar will be presenting the standing rules, and Board Coordinator Park will be presenting the meeting schedule. The AS Board of Directors standing rules reads as so. Meetings. The Associated Students of Humboldt State University shall conduct its business in public meetings in accordance with the Gloria Romero Open Meeting Act of 2000, and as outlined in Government Code Section 11 regarding meetings. All regular meetings will convene at 3 p.m. as per the attached schedule. A special meeting may be called at any time by the Legislative Vice President or by a majority of the membership of the AS Board of Directors by providing appropriate written notice. Meetings will adjourn by 6 p.m. regardless of the completeness of the agenda, unless extended by a majority vote of the Board of Directors. All meetings of the AS Board of Directors shall be open in public, and all persons shall be permitted to attend any meeting, except as provided in the Gloria Romero Open Meeting Act of 2000. Public comments. As per the Gloria Romero Open Meeting Act of 2000, authorized by Section 89-306, Every AS Board of Directors agenda for regular meetings shall provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the AS Board of Directors on any item affecting higher education at the campus or statewide level, provided that no action shall be taken on any item not appearing on the agenda. However, the Board of Directors may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by a person exercising their public testimony rights, may ask a question for clarification, make a brief announcement, or make a brief report on their own activities. The AS Board of Directors may also provide a reference to resources for factual information, request staff to report back to the body at a subsequent meeting concerning any matter, or request that a matter of business be placed on a future agenda. Persons recognized by the chair should first identify themselves by name. Time limits will be established by the chair depending on the number of people wishing to speak and the length of the agenda. The maximum amount of time per speaker shall not exceed 10 minutes. Public comments regarding items on the agenda will be taken prior to each agenda item. During official reports on the agenda, each report is limited to 10 minutes with additional time allowed at the discretion of the chair. All members are expected to comport themselves in accordance with the respectful attitude necessary to conduct business meetings. President Finley, may you please read the business section?
Yes. Business. All parliamentary authority for the AS Board of Directors shall be from Sturgis Standard Code of Parliamentary Procedure. For purposes of computing a majority of 2/3 or 2/3 approval, only yes and no votes shall be taken into account. B, all new business to be added, to be addressed to the next meeting, proposed legislations, resolutions, etc., shall be submitted in writing to the AS Board Coordinator by 5 p.m. on the Wednesday of the academic work week preceding the meeting. Is on the agenda. The AS Board Coordinator will distribute the proposed items to the Board of Directors and to the Executive Director. C, no action may be taken on any issue of legislation until that issue has been publicly posted. I'm sorry, there's that lapse. Publicly posted for at least 72 hours before a regular meeting. D, when considering an action item listed under new and old business, the Board of Directors will A, receive a presentation by the author, B, receive comment from public members, and C, make a motion for action.
Thank you, President. Vice President Lamar, may you read both the appointments to committees and the adoption section?
Yes. Can everyone hear me correct? Thank you. Appointments to committees. As outlined in Government Code Section 7, committee appointments are required to be present in the AS Board of Directors meeting at the time of they are nominated. This attendance requirement may be suspended by 2/3 vote of the Board of Directors. B, the appointment of the Board of Directors members to committees by the President or each Vice President shall take place after the appointments of student at large. Adoption. A, the standing rule shall be adopted by majority vote of the AS Board of Directors and will be ongoing year to year. They may be amended by or modified by a 2/3 vote of the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Board Coordinator. Thank you, Vice President Lamar. Board Coordinator Park, may you present the meeting schedule, please?
Yes. So all candidates received a proposed 2020-21 meeting schedule, and that original proposal that you got in your elections packets did not have summer sessions. Since then, since the elections and talking to some executives, the chair and president, and hearing other public comments, it has been proposed to hold 4 summer meetings. So not every other week, but every 3 weeks. The dates are as you see, and otherwise the meeting schedule was not altered from what was released with the elections packet.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. I would now like to ask if there is a motion on the floor. This can be a motion to adopt the standing rules and meeting schedule, to make an amendment, or to enter discussion. Is there a motion on the floor? The chair recognizes Officer Sotomayor.
Yes, I would like to motion that we move to enter discussion about the time of the meeting.
So we are now in discussion. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Officer Sotomayor, you have the floor.
Thank you. My question is kind of, first I'm wondering why the meeting time changed from the previous one. I know that Dean Turnbow just made a comment about it, and I appreciate that comment. I've been to many other meetings, and some of them do get pretty late. My concern, I suppose, is with regards to 3 p.m. being potentially a more inaccessible time for public comment. I'm not sure if that has already come up and if it's been proven that it is more accessible. I would be interested in knowing that. In terms of accessibility, my concern would be that students working 9 to 5 jobs would not be able to attend these meetings on time and then not be able to make public comment. Same for students who are in afternoon and like late afternoon classes. I know that some classes might overlap with the previous time as well. So I'm just kind of curious about that.
Thank you, Officer Sotomayor. Would Board Coordinator Park like to clarify on any information?
I can provide that we did look at the academic calendar and for gaps in there, and that Fridays and Mondays in general are the least populated with classes, and that after the 2 to 3 p.m. hour on Friday, or on most days especially actually, are more available for more students. So that was, I would say that the academic calendar was a big portion, trying to figure out what we can more easily recruit more members for and what we thought certain current members could attend. And additionally, the board often calls upon other campus associates and parts of the community to come and speak on these topics. And so there have been comments from campus staff, administrators, and faculty about also wanting to engage, and especially when the board calls upon those experts for the institutional kind of information for everybody to discuss, it's hard to bring them in. So there was a balance between student participation and campus community participation.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. Is there someone else who wishes to speak? The chair recognizes Vice President Lopez.
Yes, I also would like to mention that as we just heard, that there are courses taking place at those times, especially courses that aren't offered at multiple times throughout the day. And so with that being said, let me know if I'm doing this right. I would like to propose a motion to change the time from 3 to 6 to 4 to 7 on these Fridays.
There is currently a motion on the floor to alter the meeting times from the current time to 4 to 7 p.m. Is there a second? There's a second from Officer Sotomayor.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had a question, actually. Are we allowed to ask? Because I would like more information from Casey about that time slot before we... So would it re-enter into discussion then, if no one else?
So because there's a motion on the floor, we would have to wait until a second either does not appear and then the motion flies on the floor, or either there is a second and then we take it to vote. So because the second was rescinded, I'll ask if there is a second. Seeing none, the motion dies on the floor and we can return back to discussion. Does anyone wish to speak? The chair recognizes President Finley.
Hello, everyone. So I'll say it right now. I think it's super admirable to make sure that we prioritize our students, and even more than super admirable, it is the point of us being here in these seats. However, our board last year requested that we did 7 to 10 on a Tuesday night. That was the most extraneous semester that I've ever experienced as a student leader and as a student. Then we decided to adjust the time to 5 to 8 on Fridays. Still super hard for me to, it was really difficult, and I'm pretty sure for those of you all who all attended those meetings. Being in that time, while it seems doable at the beginning of each semester, we later then find out that the time that was originally proposed was probably the best and ideal, not only for our student leaders, for our campus partners, and for our students, so that way we can get a good mix of folks up in here and making sure that the student leaders are able to be properly taken care of with their personal health to properly advocate on behalf of our students. I think, yeah, we're people first, students second, advocates last. And so we need to be good people, and being a part of a good person is making sure that we have a good schedule. While 4 to 7 may not seem too difficult right now, I can almost guarantee you this semester and this board year will be like no other. So the work that we'll be pushing out is going to be extraneous, and 4 to 7 might not be a good time, or I don't think that would be a really good time. I think 3 to 6 is really great, is really optimal to be able to get a broad mix of people in there for us for when we need presenters. We need to request information from our campus, and all in all be an informed board of directors. So that's my 2 pieces. I'll yield my time to the chair.
Thank you, President Finley. Is there someone else who wishes to speak? At this moment, I would look for a motion to be made on the floor. The chair recognizes President Finley.
A motion to approve the AS Board of Directors proposed 2020-21 standing meeting schedule as is.
Is there a second on the floor? The chair recognizes Vice President Lamar.
I second the motion.
Chair President Finley has motioned to approve the meeting schedule and standing rules as is, and Vice President Lamar has seconded. We will now move into debate. Is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Sorry, I can't raise my actual hand, or I can raise my actual hand, but not my hand. I did highlight this section B here, and unfortunately wasn't able to hit anybody up about it, but just by practice of this year, for all new business items being submitted, we made a practice of making sure that the chair was also included on those business items, so that I just think it's really important for students to be interacting with students. And so just the chair being the one of the people identified to formally receive that, I would be in support of. I'm not against being the sole person to receive it, but I think kind of leaning on something that Ebony said in her, or Dr. Turnbow said in her report, just having a team to do those kinds of things and us solidifying that, I would support.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Parks. So please clarify me if I am wrong. For that to be added, that would be an amendment to the standing rules.
Correct.
Okay. So because the motion on the floor is currently to approve the standing rules and meeting schedule as is, we would have to continue debate and then have that vote occur. The chair recognizes President Finley.
Madam Chair, I was wondering if I could, if my co-author on my co-signer on my motion is willing to amend the current motion to include this recommendation.
Vice President Lamar, is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. So the new motion is to adopt the AS standing rules with the inclusion of the new amendment and adopt the meeting schedule as is. Is there a second to that? Actually not, because Vice President Lamar already seconded. We're now in debate again. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we will move into a vote. Board Coordinator Park, may you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes. President Finley?
Aye.
Vice President Lopez?
Aye.
Skip my movie. Vice President Lamar?
Yes.
Social Justice and Equity Officer Sotomayor?
Aye.
College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences Rep. Alvarez.
Aye.
And at-large Representative Floyd.
Aye.
There was unanimous approval of the standing rules with an amendment to add the chair into business item B and the proposed 2021 standing meeting schedule.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. I would now like to ask if there is a motion on the floor to extend this meeting by 5 minutes so that we could also do announcements.
A motion to extend the meeting 5 minutes.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Vice President Lopez has seconded. We'll take this to a vote. Are there any objections or abstentions to extending the meeting by 5 minutes?
Could I just get a hearing check? Was that Lopez or was that Floyd?
That was Lopez.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. Are there any objections or abstentions to extending the meeting for 5 minutes? Seeing none, the meeting is extended for 5 minutes. We will now move into announcements. Board Coordinator Park, may you talk about announcements A through C, please?
Yes, so this weekend, the large associated students, the one from our system called the Cal State Student Association, they will be having something called a plenary or a series of meetings throughout the day, similar to this board meeting, but all lined up from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So this is linked on the website or onto the agenda, and you are all able to join the plenary mailing list, get a meeting schedule, look up the agenda, and join via teleconference, which I very much advocate everybody checks out. If not this month, next month, we'll make an announcement at our next board meeting about the June plenary as well. We do have 11 board vacancies open for application. So the AS website has a tab, apply to represent, join the student government, and the 11 positions are open for application through a Google form there. The President Finley will be reviewing applications and begin the interviewing process so that hopefully in these summer sessions, more of the team can be appointed. Now that the schedule has been approved, we are aiming to have the vice chair of the board of directors nominated on the June 26th meeting so that in the absence of the chair, there is somebody identified to lead the meeting.
Thank you, Board Coordinator Park. Does anyone else have any announcements? You could raise your hand and you would be added to the speakers list for announcements. Seeing none, is there a motion on the floor to adjourn this meeting?
I motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Vice President Lamar has motioned to adjourn this meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Representative Floyd. Are there any objections or abstentions to adjourning the meeting? Seeing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:03 p.m. Thank you for joining us for our first meeting.